Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach,
And I'm Jeff.
and we're your source for weekly drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yep, basically, we're just regular dudes drinking regular beers, and we're talking about Magic the Gathering, in particular, MTG Arena.
And once again, one of my favorite episodes. I say that every week, but it really matters for the last 2 weeks because we're doing another Drunken Vorthos, this time for the Neon Dynasty stories. So, as always, these are our story episodes where we only talk about the characters and not the cards. But it wouldn't be a Drunken Vorthos episode if it wasn't a Silver series.
Yeah, that's right. So, as you know, here on the Arena Regulars, we rate our beers on a scale of bronze to mythic. These are the tiers in Arena. And in this rating system, silver represents it just represents the macro brews, or anything that's kind of uninspired and contends with the macro brews. And so a silver series, in order to show that, hey, we love silver beers too, it's not a knock against them. We're drinking all macro brews tonight, and we're going to rank those, the 4 different macro beers we bought, from silver 4 to silver 1. Of course, 4 is the lowest score, and 1 is the highest score.
Mm-hmm.
With that, what's on tap?
So I've been wanting to do this one for a very long time. I feel like I bring it up every time we're going to do a silver series, and for some reason I can't find it, or something happens, something weird.
I was shocked when you said we hadn't done it yet. I was like, yeah, sure we have. That was the first one.
And it wasn't. But this is Moosehead. So it's a lager from Canada, and it is 5%. And this one was started in 1867.
Wow.
Crazy.
I was shocked to see that. I mean, I just didn't. I guess it's just so prevalent here. I just never think about when it's actually from. But to see this one was the oldest one on our list was kind of surprising.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how this measures up to some of the other ones, because it's one of my favorites when I came to Canada, because I was like, yeah, Moosehead, that sounds like a sweet Canadian beer. It's old. I like it.
And so with that, let's get on to things. But of course, before we begin, we have to put a little disclaimer here. We're basically about to tell you literally everything that happens in the Neon Dynasty story, and probably even more than that. So if you don't want any spoilers, or you aren't ready yet, you want some context of what happened before this story started, you should go check out our last episode.
Yep, that's right. Because we break down everything that happened in old Kamigawa up to this exact point where we're starting the story right now. All right, Jeff. Where should we start? Probably just the beginning of just where we left off, basically, from last week.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe like Kaito's childhood would be a reasonable place to get started here.
That makes sense. Kaito, if you don't know, is our marquee planeswalker. The first one.
Spoiler alert.
Well, it was spoiled earlier. Everyone knows now. It was like the art that was shown for the plane. So we've seen Kaito for a long time.
Yeah, if you're like thinking of, an image from Neon Dynasty, it probably is the one with Kaito in it.
It's probably this one. Funny enough, so we have Kaito and Iko? I don't know how to pronounce it.
I was pronouncing it in my brain as Aiko.
Aiko.
Well.
So Kaito and Aiko are twins. More twins in the Magic universe. Look at that.
Yeah.
And they both live in a Ganjo, which, as we know, is where the Imperials live in Kamigawa. And basically, a lot of the samurai are there, and they protect the Emperor.
Yeah, and so basically they're young kids and they're training. So they start with what's called general training, I guess, but then after a few years, they have to pick a major. And they have to kind of start to focus into a specific part of how they serve the dynasty, how they serve the imperial, how they serve a Ganjo and the Emperor, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a lot of different tracks to go into, but we are immediately kind of shown that Kaito is not maybe the best student, and also a little mischievous.
That's right. And also another important theme that he loves food.
Yeah, that's right. So we have a scene where he's basically going into a kitchen through a window, and he can run around and was stealing a bunch of food, and also has telekinesis powers that we find out to make sure that things don't fall and break, or no one can hear different sounds, so he'll pick up objects and all those kinds of things as he tries to escape unscathed, which is something he seems to do quite a lot, is jumping in windows and sneaking around.
Yeah, so the opening scene is him, sneaking into the kitchen, and he steals some, I think it was mochi ice cream, I think, that he took, or something that involved mochi. Mm-hmm. And then he runs off, and we find out that he's going to meet his sister for training. But he causes a whole bunch of mayhem, including shattering a bunch of dishes, and then the kami, which is one of the spirits that does essentially the dishes.
The dish doing
in the
spirit.
Castle, looks up and sees the cook who was chasing Kaito in front of all the broken dishes. So he basically got this guy in a lot of trouble with a spirit. But yeah, that's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
It encapsulates him all right there. He's shifty. He could escape, and he was quick. He loves food. And he's a bit mischievous, and kind of, he was late for class because he was doing this. Mm-hmm. So.
And Aiko, his sister, is fairly different than he is. She is more studious, cares a lot about the imperialists and what their agenda is, and making sure that she can do her due diligence and be an honorable person in society, especially in the eyes of their mentor, who is Light Paws. Right. We'll just have a light pause here for a moment for Light Paws. But we kind of find out that they don't really have a good parental story. They don't really have a family. Light Paws seems to be kind of their only superior as far as anyone who is looking out for them. Their parents are kind of out of the picture.
Yeah, exactly. So Light Paws, I guess, is supposed to be their trainer / exactly like you said, kind of parent figure. Yeah. And when Kaito shows up to his session, he's expecting to just spar with his sister, because that's what they've been doing under the general training. I guess that just means combat training, because he's expecting to.
So you just fight until you decide you want to be a diplomat, is basically what.
That's right. And speaking of which, his sister informs him that she's chosen a major. That she wants to be a kami diplomat, so somebody who can speak to the spirits and smooth things over, because the humans piss off the kami a lot, and then they're going to need people to kind of smooth things over after.
Exactly, because as we go through this story, we'll start to realize that the spirit world and the regular world, I guess, is slowly merging. Little by little, right. They continue to collide into each other. Which we talked a bit about last week, that they are crossing over, but it seems to be a sort of impending doom of a climate change almost, where it's happening and we're starting to see the effects of it.
Yeah, so that's what she chose to do. And Kaito hadn't even really given any thought to what he wants to do. He, still wants to go through general training. We kind of find out that Aiko had wanted to do this for a while and was holding back in general training, hoping that Kaito would choose something, find his path. But she finally decided she can't wait any longer. She needs to start studying, preparing for her future, studying what she wants to do.
That's right. However, Light Paws isn't just going to let Kaito get stuck behind. They do kind of have an idea of what Kaito should be doing. Kaito knows for sure that he doesn't want to be a samurai. That's a big thing that could happen. He's pretty good at sparring, and a lot of people just get thrown into being a samurai and just protecting the throne. Not interested in that at all. Didn't want to do that. And now, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't remember. Does Kaito becomes friends with the Emperor? They're both children at this time. And the Emperor, is he he meets her first, and then they start sparring, right?
Exactly. So at this point, Light Paws says, you're not going to spar with your sister. You're going to have to go see the general, the samurai general, Shining Arm or something. And when he goes to see the general, he realizes that he has to spar with the Empress, or the Emperor now, because she needs a sparring partner for whatever reason, and they heard he's pretty good with a sword. And that's when we get the flashback that he actually already knows the Emperor. They're friends, which is likely why he was also selected for this task, that she knows him.
But it does seem like the general doesn't know that
The general doesn't know that
they're together, and maybe the Empress has something to do with it, or the Emperor, because they've been communicating through a paper wall or a door, basically. So he can only see her shadow. So there's a really cute idea of that they continue to have conversations between this paper wall, and he's never actually seen her face before, and she hasn't seen his, just because it makes it it's acceptable. Of course, someone who's very high in royalty would not probably be around someone who's so mischievous like this. So they both kind of have this really, really sweet connection, which becomes extremely important throughout the story.
Essentially what happens is he's on one of his mischievous stunts and, running away as he happens to find himself in these situations. And that's when he thinks he's gotten away with it. He hears this young girl talk to him, and because he thinks it's a peer, she sounds about his age, and he can't see her. He just tells her the whole story of everything he got up to. And only later realizes that was the Emperor. Like, it's, he looks up and he's like, wow, I'm in the Emperor's garden right now. I must be talking to the Emperor.
Yeah, he didn't go out to try to become friends with the Emperor. It just kind of happened.
Right. But I think, she probably liked that he talked to her as a friend would, rather than everyone else in her life must talk to her as the Emperor.
And are also old, and she needs someone her own age to connect with. So they begin sparring, and Kaito knows that he's not supposed to hold back, and that the point is to keep the Emperor sharp. And so he starts going into it and starts giving it his all, which tends to be not extremely precise and a bit more aggressive, I guess. And the Emperor does a wonderful job of blocking everything that he can bring at her, and she, disarms him and gets to hold both of the wooden swords to his throat, basically winning this match, which also kind of wins his heart a little bit, I think. In that moment, he realizes, she is more than just this person that I talked to this window. She's actually really great at what she has learned how to do. And through this, we know that he loves her. Like,
it's a love story.
It's never explicitly told, but he has very much love for his friend. But we know, Kaito. Yeah, I can see right through you.
Yeah, that scene just made me think of like a street fight, old school Street Fighter. Someone pulls like a 12-move combo, and she just perfect parries every single one, and then whoops his ass.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa.
Damn.
I did like to note at this point that there is this cute love story that seems nice and subtle and feels organic, as opposed to our love story with Chandra and Adeline from the last Drunken Vorthos, where
it feels very forced.
It feels very forced and overt. The moments where they're trying to hint at it, which weren't quotations, hint, just kind of smacking you with it. So I did enjoy this bit a bit. But anyway, I don't want to get stuck too much on Kaito's childhood, because there's a lot of stuff that happens. But there is one point where we meet Satsumasa, I believe is how you say that, who's a moon folk from the city, which is Ottawara, which I always read as Ottawa when I was reading. It's like, they're from Ottawa,
just Ottawa.
Which is especially funny with this weekend and everything that's been happening. But anyway, that's where all the moon folk live, and basically Kaito meets them in the garden. And they kind of have an exchange of like, you're not supposed to be here, but you're also not supposed to be here, which kind of eventually results in, I want to back up a little bit. The moon folk that live up in Ottawara, they are very focused on the future and progress. So they're pushing the limits of what technology can do. And in comparison, the imperialists on Ganjo are very focused on regulating technology to make sure it's safe for everyone. And these ideologies are going to be in conflict throughout our or journey.
Exactly. So if you remember from last episode, again, if you didn't check it out, go check it out. But we talked about how the technological burst happened. And there were the goblins that created foci that made energy more powerful, the kami magic more powerful. But the futurists were the ones who sought to get the magical energy that the kami have without being given it by the kami. They were seeking ways to get that magic for themselves directly. And these were the two kind of innovations that pushed the technological advancement. You could get a little bit of energy from the futurists and then focus it from the Aki. And so that's who the futurists are, these people that want to push this technology and kind of not rely on only being given access to magic when you're in their good favor.
Yeah. They also live in this floating city that basically is heavily guarded, not extremely, but it's kind of known that they have...
It's like said that it's heavily guarded, but then it's been easily penetrable at every plot point in the story.
Yeah. But basically, it's kind of known that they have technology that they kind of shouldn't, but nobody really knows for sure. But they are pushing the boundary, and something is being made up there that kind of shouldn't. In any case, we meet Katsumasa, and Kaito is given this crane drone. And there's a lot of technology that folds out into different things. So it's kind of these origami robotic pieces that they kind of do what you'd like. And this one specifically turns into a crane and flies around. And Kaito can see through the crane as it's going around.
Yeah, and we also learned something pretty important about Kaito, about his parents. That basically they were laborers, essentially, and they got poisoned, basically, from their job. And the legal technology to cure them was too expensive, so they procured a solution from the black market. But they were caught with this illegal substance and thrown in prison, where they died.
Yeah. I think the dad was thrown in prison and the mom just died.
The dad
outside.
was thrown in prison.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And so this is seeing that, there are these factory workers in the Undercity, which is like the dirty area. And of course, there's a lot of this illegal technology being made. Illegal in the imperialists' eyes, not necessarily everyone else on the plane, which we'll continue to see that everyone has their own kind of idea of what technology should be and how involved it should be in their lives and how not. And the imperialists are the ones who are...
I mean, when it's medicine to save you from your poison, that feels like that's a rough one for me to be on the imperial side of
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that we deal with in our everyday lives. That I guess not so much in Canada, but in America, in insulin.
Yeah, but it's I guess like getting thrown in jail for buying like black market insulin. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's not exactly those terms, but if there was something weird going on and a company didn't like that you were taking their patent or whatever. Anyway, back to the magic world. We also know that Light Paws has come. So also, we didn't explain this before, but Light Paws is a kitsune. So this is a fox.
With 7 tails.
7 tails. Very important. And the tails on a kitsune basically show how old they are and how wise they are. So through their life, they kind of start with one and slowly grow other ones through certain events or milestones.
And given that 8.5 tails was a legendary figure, in previous Kamigawa, I think 7 is a lot.
7 is a lot. And fun fact about 8.5 tails, used to have 9, but then after kind of doing some dirty deeds with Konda and kind of convincing Konda to do some shitty stuff, felt bad about it and cut off half of a tail to say, I don't deserve 9.
I've lost wisdom, or whatever.
Yeah. But anyway, all right. So Light Paws confronts Kaito and tells him essentially that you are no longer going to be training with the Emperor Because through this and through meeting Katsumasa, Kaito is kind of becoming a futurist and believes a lot of these ideas.
Telling the emperor.
And telling
exactly
the
what you were
emperor.
gonna say, yeah.
So the emperor never really holds on to it. It seems like they kind of had discussions, and the emperor listens and is really nice about it. And it doesn't seem like he's just filling her head with junk. But she does happen to tell someone about it, which we find out through Light Paws being like, you are no longer around, like able to be around.
Yeah, or I even got the impression that Light Paws is just spying on them, basically.
Oh, right.
Like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
said something about like
why
when
would she
you're
do
as
that?
important as the emperor, you don't get privacy, basically.
Yeah, that's kind of shitty. Light Paws. Yeah. Anyway,
I know.
fucking Light Paws. Hey, get out of my private conversations.
You're not my real mom.
Yeah, you're not my real dad. And basically now Kaito has nothing. It's like, hey, you need to choose a major and basically become a samurai. Light Paws is like, become a samurai.
And like you can't. Yeah, you're gonna be a samurai, and you're not gonna be friends with the emperor.
And that's
anymore,
it.
Basically.
And Kaito's like, I don't want to be a samurai, and I only want to be friends with the emperor. So
Yeah.
no. They kind of have an explosive argument, and Kaito hides.
Classic.
But we have an incident that evening, a big one.
I would say it was pretty big.
Yeah, pretty big. We talk about it a lot. It might be an inciting incident. In fact.
Inciting, yeah.
And
so
go ahead, tell us what
I
happens.
don't remember exactly what all the hubbub was about, but there's a lot of hubbub, basically. Like, I know what it was about, but I don't remember exactly what set off. But the alarm goes off in the Aiganjo castle, which I guess just sends everybody wild. It means there's an intruder. And so, obviously, the first thing Kaito thinks of is the intruder's here for the emperor, and she's my friend, so I need to go protect her.
Yeah,
or
makes sense.
help, basically. And so he knows how to get around the palace unnoticed because of all his scheming and whatnot, and he knows the direct routes to everything and the shortcuts. So he's able to kind of beat everyone there, and he gets to the throne room, and he goes and he sees that the great kami that overlooks. So if you remember from last time, Kyodai is the great kami that Michiko helped free, and together they were able to save Kamigawa. Kyodai still overlooks everything and bonds with the emperor. So this was one of my questions, though, before I go on. If you remember, Kyodai changed things after like all of the infighting from the previous emperor, and Kyodai now chooses the new emperor. It's like more of a political process, sort of. Did he choose a child?
That's also what I was thinking. I was like, why did you choose a kid?
Why is the emperor a child if not by birthright? Because that's not how it works anymore in Kamigawa. So clearly Kyodai chose this little girl to be the emperor.
Now, I think that is exactly what happened, that a child was chosen to become the emperor, and that this is the only way it can really be explained is because of this magical being that would be able to see something in them that no one can see. Only a magical being.
Yeah, but I feel like they kind of blew past it. So unless it's a side story that's going to come out or something. I remember just being like, the emperor. Why is the emperor like 6 or whatever? Why is the emperor a kid if they're chosen by the kami that oversees them?
Yeah, we don't know how long this emperor has been the emperor. We also don't know their name. Like they're just the emperor.
And it wasn't like she was the heir to the throne or something.
And they didn't say that.
Emperor.
She's just the emperor.
She was a child.
The emperor is a child. And we don't, we, at this age.
I mean, I understand that she ends up being badass for sure. Like,
I guess, no, you're right. They're like really young. No. At this point, they're like 14.
I mean, it's still pretty young though.
Yeah, but it's not like, I mean, maybe they picked a 6-year-old, but maybe they also picked a 12-year-old.
That's what this person seems pretty ensconced by the time the story starts, was my thinking. But yeah, I was imagining like a 10-year-old as the emperor.
Anyway, that is a thing that happens. Kyodai decided that a child is going to rule Kamigawa. And maybe that's a reason.
In Alberta, 14-year-olds can drive. In Kamigawa, they can rule the entire place.
So there you go. And it could be a reason why there are people who don't want the emperor to rule. That would be a really big reason why you're like, no, this is a fucking kid. Which we'll get to in a little bit. However, we are in the throne room, and Kaito can see that the emperor is by this man, this figure, who has an entirely metal arm. What? It's weird. Never.
That's odd.
I've never seen anyone with a giant metal arm before. It's very strange. And something happens, and then she's gone, and he flees, essentially.
Yeah, and Coyote's kind of like clearly not their best self.
Yeah.
Like wounded or injured or like something.
Something's going on.
Something happened to the great Kami that's in that room as well. Which also, by the way, is super freaky looking.
Yeah. Look at a picture of Kaito
Its
now.
body is made out of arms, like human arms. And then its face has like 3 masks of Michiko on it.
Yeah.
It's really creepy looking.
Not what I was thinking when I was thinking the sisters of flesh and spirit, but hey, it is what it is. It maybe over time.
Usually the like good being that is powerful on the side of good, they usually don't look super creepy and terrifying.
That's true.
So it's nice. It's nice to see them flip that.
You're
one
right.
around.
Yeah. It is a horrifying image that brings us comfort. So that's good.
Yeah.
In any case, Kaito is freaked out by this metal-armed man, who then escapes.
Yeah.
And when all the guards and samurai get there, they do not believe Kaito's story because that's a ridiculous thing. No one has a metal arm. It must have been someone else. And they blame it on one of the other groups of people in Kamigawa. It kind of changes over time. It doesn't really matter who it is. It was like
They just need to pin the blame on somebody.
they make us,
First it was the futurists.
and then they decided it was somebody else. So it was like they're just like, we just need a place to point our anger, which is very normal in our world, and yeah, that's kind of the end of the first chapter, and which we're spent a lot of time on that, which is great. But I am getting close to the end of my beer, so I want to quickly talk about Kaito's quote-unquote origin story, which is a separate article that we got quite a while ago, and quickly talk about him and how he got his spark, which is a big deal because Kaito, as we know, is a planeswalker.
Yeah, exactly. So I did just want to quickly say that this is all told through Kaito's perspective, so it seems like the council is being ridiculous, but in their defense, it's like a 14-year-old that came and said, yeah, the emperor just vanished, and then some guy with a metal arm ran, and I chased him along the roof, and he vanished too. That's what happened. I mean, I can't blame them for not believing him and thinking it was probably one of the emperor's enemies that did it. Anyways, so Kaito leaves because, he had the talking to with Light Paws. Light Paws didn't believe him when he told him about
The thing.
the man with the metal arm who vanished. And so we're about a year after that now. The emperor's still gone, and Kaito is still looking for her. And the best way he's thought of to do that is basically to connect with the criminal underworld, because they have a lot of connections and they have a lot of spies. So if she ever turned up, or if they ever saw a man with a metal arm, they would know.
And those criminals are the Hyozen Reckoners, who,
That's right.
interesting. We know a little bit about them. They might have been formed by Toshiro Umezawa and Hidetsugu. So they're still around. Crazy that you can keep a crime organization around that long. That's amazing. And they're also run by Satoru Umezawa. So, hey, keeping the family in the business. Umezawa got back
They lasted longer than the emperor's family. Umezawa's crime lord family is still led by the Umezawas, but the emperor's family is no longer that family.
My question here is that Toshiro Umezawa was then kind of banished to Dominaria. How did we get an Umezawa back in Kamigawa? That's what I want to know. I don't know that. Somehow he came back. Maybe Toshiro had a baby mama somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, he must have had the baby before getting banished. Maybe he didn't even know.
Maybe he didn't even know. But whoever gave birth to that child sure knew, because that's the name that they got.
And then made sure to tell them, hey, the Reckoners are your blood right.
Yeah, so you take it. They did learn from the last time when Tashir was there, is now when you get initiated, you have to get this loyalty tattoo on your body. You have to be 16 years old to get it, so that's why luckily Kaito does not have one. But if you end up crossing the Reckoners in any way and breaking the pact, the tattoo will consume your body and kill you.
Yeah, exactly. And so Kaito kind of proves himself, does a couple of low-end jobs, just like pickpocketing people who owe Satoru money. But he does it really well. Like, as soon as Satoru puts the job up, within the day, Kaito has the money for him. And, after a few times of that, he summons Kaito into his office and says, all right, I have a more important project for you. There's this Tameshi guy. He's a moonfolk. And he's been, the word on the street is that he's been basically innovating with some new technology. And he knows the rest of the criminal underworld will hear about this soon, so he needs it now. So he's like, Kaito, you got to go steal this guy's technology so I can sell it on the black market.
Yeah. And this next bit is quite long, so I want to we'll quickly speed through it because getting to the point where he actually gets his spark is the most important part. But we do find out that this moonfolk, what's his name?
Tameshi.
Tameshi, right. So Tameshi is in the Jukai forest. We go over there, and as we're going through, we meet up with Aiko because she is this diplomat now. She can talk some sense, or she's training.
So you remember the Jukai forest, the kami protect it and don't like humans entering. So he couldn't get in without some help. So he called up his sister, who is a kami diplomat.
Sounds pretty good. They eventually get there, and we fight a little bit with Tameshi when we meet up with them. But then later find out that, it's okay, we don't actually have to fight. And we kind of run into this kami spirit that, what is it? It's like a little fox looking thing, kind of, with like balls around the top. That seems to have some sort of tie with Kyodai. And Aiko reveals that the night that the man with the golden arm, the night with the man with the metal arm came and stole, essentially, the emperor away, Kyodai made a big light, and a kami kind of came out of that light. And we believe that this is the same kami that was there, because it seems to have some sort of ties with Kyodai.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's a tanuki, which I had to look up because it said it a few times. And I could tell from the art what it was a little bit. But it's a Japanese raccoon dog.
Oh.
It literally looks like a cross between a raccoon and a dog.
So I knew tanuki was a raccoon. I wasn't sure if the kami was a tanuki before something happens. But the reason I know the word tanuki is because in Super Mario 3, when he gets the feather, he turns into a Tanuki Mario, which is like he has a tail and he can fly.
That's what the raccoon Mario is called?
If you play if you play the most recent Mario Kart, it's Tanuki Mario is the one you can pick. And he goes, Tanuki, which I love.
Okay.
So every time I read that word Tanuki, I was like, oh, Tanuki.
I read it and I was like, I don't know what that means. I'll just soldier on. But then it came up a lot. And I was like, all right, it turns out I need to know what this word means.
It's a raccoon dog.
It's basically a Japanese raccoon, but they do have more dog-like features than the raccoons we're maybe used to.
I guess so. Anyway. But anyway, so we have this separate kami spirit, that's the Tanuki. And then we also have, Tameshi has this drone, which is also Tanuki drone, right?
Yeah, so Tameshi is trying to build like armor for kami that I don't really understand what he was.
He's trying to get the kami to go into the technology and like be this like kami robot kind of. He's like trying to mix them together.
Go back into their spirit world so he can understand.
Yeah, because he wants to merge a kami with a drone, because then the kami can go to the spirit world and he can look at the footage while it's in the spirit world and learn more about the spirit world. Because mortals can't really cross over to the spirit realm unless.
And he's expecting the merge that we alluded to earlier.
Yes. So that's what most of his research is about. Now, when they're there, some shit happens. the Hyos and Reckoners were following Kaito, and so they get in a fight. But then the Jukai monks come out and then help in the fight, and the three of them try to escape. And then they run into this other spirit, and some shit happens where Kaito like saves the Kami's life, and then in the end, the Kami becomes his best friend. That's kind of what happens throughout it.
Yeah, but we basically learned that the Kami was also looking for the Emperor.
Yes,
that was kind of what their goal
why
was.
That
That's
Kami,
why they were in the forest.
Yes. And through this act of Kaito saving the Kami from this other spirit that's in the forest, that Kami decides that it will merge with this drone and become his personal kind of Kami drone spirit. As Kaito's trying to give it off to Aiko to bring it back to the Ganjo, and as Tameshi's trying to force the Kami and the technology together, it won't work. Now this specific Tanuki spirit is kind of partnered with Kaito because of this incident and decides to mesh in with the metal for him. And now he has this magic Tanuki robot thing that's like a drone, but it's also like this Tanuki on his shoulder, and it's also a mask that he can put on.
Yeah, so it like turns into a mask randomly after they kind of decide, hey, we're going to look for the Emperor together. It shapeshifts into a mask. He puts it on, and well, what happens when he puts the mask on?
Spark. As Aiko's like, hey, what's going on? He planeswalks somewhere else. I would like to mention that this is a moment for Kaito is extremely exhilarating from saving this basically this Kami, and then the feeling he gets from being around it and putting it on is just so immense that's what makes him planeswalk, which is really interesting because every other Spark story is like something horrible happening. It's always it's some terrible incident where someone's about to die or their family's about to be killed.
Like all of your family and friends were murdered.
You just killed your brother.
The entire town.
Yeah, your parents were just burned to death. Like all those really intense things. You're about to die. All all that stuff. So this was one that was like, hey, this is nice. You're fucking happy to put this Tanuki mask on. Whoa, different world.
Yeah. I mean, it's still kind of like he thinks his best friend is kidnapped and wants to find her,
but I guess it's a different. It's like you have a mission as opposed to like this desperate attempt to like not die, which tends to be the case with most of our planeswalkers that we meet. But with that, that is the end of that moment, and the next story picks up 9 years later, 10 years after the Emperor has left, where the rest of our story will kick off.
So that concludes Act 1.
It does conclude Act 1. But let's go grab some more beers and have a beer break before we get on to Act 2. This beer break is brought to you by our patrons over at Patreon.
That's right. You're already supporting the show just by listening. But if you want to support the show even more, the Patreon is the best way to do that.
And when you become a patron, you get an exclusive invite to our after party, which is a mini episode recorded immediately after this one, where we ramble on about stuff that probably doesn't really matter at all.
Plus, as a Patreon, you get to vote on your favorite co-host by, well, either buying me a beer
or buying me a beer. So go to patreon.com/arena regulars to vote on your favorite host right now. Do it right now.
Or after the show, but right now is better.
Should they go right now or right now?
I think now.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we got Miller High Life. I hear, now this is just word on the street. This is kind of the legend, if you will. Because this beer's been around a long time. It was established in 1903. So a lot of things have kind of been surfacing about this beer. I hear that it's the champagne of beers.
Yes, I have heard that.
Don't tell anyone I told you.
Yeah, it's a secret. No one else knows that.
It's like the secrets in this story. Everybody knows them.
Yeah, everybody knows all the secrets in this story. But Miller High Life. I don't think I've ever had this beer in my entire life.
You know what? I was thinking that too when I bought it. I've had MGD, like Miller Genuine Draft.
Yeah, I've had Genuine Draft.
And I think I've had like Miller Lite, but I don't know if I've ever actually had this one.
And this is the original one. And it's,
but I see it all the time.
Yeah. 4.6%. Yeah. When I think about this beer, I think about the cans that don't have the pull tabs from like the 60s or whatever that you have to like punch the top.
Puncture.
Yeah.
Yeah. You need like a can opener.
Yeah, literally. Which seems actually pretty awesome. We should bring that back.
Yeah.
You should have tools to open a beer, not just it shouldn't just come with them.
Or at least ingenuity, you know.
Exactly.
You don't have the tools, you know. Where there's a will, there's a way.
A screwdriver or whatever. All right. Jeff, let's get into our next chapter of this story right here.
Yeah.
It is 10 years later. 10 years since the Emperor has been taken, and Kaito has been traveling through the multiverse looking for the Emperor.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what the hell he was doing at this point, because he obviously just planeswalk. He doesn't really know anything about anything, but he's just like popping into random places, being like, "Hey, do you know where the Emperor of Kamigawa is?" And
yeah, that's literally what
apparently,
happened. Yeah,
you know,
we hear about it later.
Have you seen a guy with a metal arm?
Yeah, that's what he should have been asking, because more people know that than the Kamigawa Emperor. They're like, I don't know what Kamigawa is. They're like, have you seen the metal arm dude? They're like, oh yeah, that guy fucks up everything. He's around.
I hate that guy.
Yeah, he's the fucking worst. He killed my family. What? He stole my Emperor.
I mean, I don't want to give too much away about who Metal Armed Man is. So, you know, I won't
it's true. Yeah, we should. We only refer to
this
Metal
is one
Armed.
of those story secrets that, you know.
that we already obviously know, but of course, we can't talk about it. So Kaito finally comes back to Kamigawa, though it does kind of seem like he's been here a couple times.
Yeah, it said that it's not like he never visited. I kind of got the impression he like pops back in for a bowl of ramen.
I think that's what he does. So it's our continuation of Kaito loving food. And the descriptions of the food, I don't think any other story that we've talked about so far has talked about something where I want to eat it so much. But
oh my god, I was so hungry.
They didn't even go into crazy detail about the food. It just the way that he wanted it made me hungry. I don't know. It
was the perfect amount. Like it wasn't too much of the story and describing it in too much detail. It was just like he had to pop by the best ramen shop in like the town to get a bowl
or whatever, and you're like, oh yeah, so good. His tanuki as well also has kind of a taste for ramen, which we kind of find out in some stories. Also, we did not talk about, so his tanuki robot thing has two names. So originally, when they're looking at the kami, they're like, "Oh, we need to give it a name. We'll give it Pom Chan. Okay, perfect. So now we have this cute little thing. However, after merging with the robot, it kind of has telekinetic powers with Kaito and says, "Hey, my name's Himoto. You should call me Himoto." And then we call it Himoto.
Telepathic, I think.
What did I say?
Telekinetic.
Oh, sure. Yeah, telepathic instead
That's
of...
what...
telekinesis.
Has telekinetic.
Yeah. Telekinesis is like lifting things with your mind, and telepathic is saying things with your mind. There we go. Hey,
It's going to be an important difference because two main characters in the story have one of those two abilities.
It's true.
I guess Tamio has both.
Yeah. Wait, what? Tamio's in the story.
Sorry. Yeah. The Kamigawa Planeswalker might appear in the Kamigawa
story. In the Kamigawa story. But Kaito meets up with Aiko just to say, hey, what's going on? I always want to drop in and talk a little bit. They go over a little bit of what the origin story was, but in the end, Aiko knows something, that Tameshi has been doing deals with a man with a metal arm.
Yeah, now we didn't totally like mention this, but at the end of Kaito's origin story, he and Tameshi had a bit of a bro moment where they just like started to like each other basically. And then what we're supposed to gather is that over the 10 years they've become very close friends.
Yeah. And he confides...
So this was the ultimate betrayal because Tameshi knows that Kaito is searching for a man with a metal arm.
Yeah.
And now, according to his sister, Tameshi has actually been meeting with such a man, and he never told Kaito about it.
Yeah, which is pretty fucked up, man. And like, this is the kind of thing that... So this is the second time that Kaito has felt that he was confiding in someone who was listening respectfully and then not giving all the information back to him.
Right.
He felt it a little bit with the Emperor, but then was also like maybe Light Paws was like spying. And now, once again, with Tameshi,
Right.
which is definitely a betrayal by Tameshi. So it stings a little bit as like this constant weird, like, do I put too much trust in people? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm literally imagining them hanging out, right? And Tameshi's just Kaito's like, anyways, couldn't find her there. It's good to see you again. You know, they hang out for a bit. He's like, I gotta go. I'm thinking Zendikar, this place I've heard of, might have her, so I'm gonna go check that out. And Tameshi's sitting there like, oh yeah, maybe Zendikar, maybe Zendikar. And then
Yeah,
he
and
takes
then-
off. And he's like, all right, he's gone. And
Yeah.
metal armed man comes out of the shadows.
Gives him a
They start,
handshake.
like,
Yeah.
playing,
Thrown out.
you know, they pop a thing of scotch.
Oh, yeah. No, they both get like their cans of beer, and the man with the metal arm punctures the hole. So
Oh,
they
yeah,
can,
exactly.
so they can shotgun.
The old school Miller High Life.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, you know, it is the champagne.
What an idiot. They're all just like laughing at Kaito.
Yeah. So Kaito decides that he is going to investigate this news, and he breaks into Tameshi's lab. And this is in Atawara, which we were talking about earlier, that is supposedly hard to break into. However, Kaito has this thing that turns off all the security cameras for a while.
Ninja planeswalker, you know.
Yeah, it's true. He could have just planeswalked into Atawara, but he doesn't.
He's like really reluctant to do that throughout
Yeah.
the whole story, basically.
It's very interesting. Actually, a lot of planeswalkers seem to be reluctant to do that as well. I don't know why. Anyway, we're in Tameshi's lab, and we're looking for clues.
Because it makes storytelling hard when they can just planeswalk to wherever the hell they want at
true.
any given time.
You have to make up some reason why they can't. But in the lab, Kaito can't find anything that seems extremely relevant, except for this blueprint for some sort of this weird chip-looking thing with kind of blue.
It's like a
floppy
jellyfish
arms.
chip.
Yeah.
Like it has tentacles coming out of it. It's just like a computer chip, like a CPU, that has these tentacles coming out of it.
Yeah. So this is the blueprint for that piece of technology. So he decides to snag it because it seems important. And he knows that in the Undercity is where Tameshi is doing these deals with the man with the metal arm. That's what Aiko had said. So, hey, let's go down to the Undercity because, you know.
Yeah, so one of my
happen.
favorite parts about this is there's a message that he finds that's encoded. It's like it was encoded, but Kaito was able to crack the code immediately. And it reads it. It's like, what's the point of this plot part that
Yeah.
is encoded? It's like,
Just to say, hey, so someone doesn't say, oh, well, that should have been
why wasn't
encoded.
that encoded?
It was, but Kaito's smart enough to get over it.
And it's like, yeah, being Tameshi's best friend, he easily cracked the code. It's just like, okay.
Yeah. I don't. Did you know the name of his childhood pet or something? You know, like,
Yeah.
like
Was it password? Is
Yeah,
that what
it was probably password. So now we are down in the Undercity, and we are overseeing Tameshi make this. Wait, no, we're not overseeing Tameshi make this deal, but we're down by this warehouse, watching the Hios and Reckoners and this big metal creature that doesn't seem to look like it's from Kamigawa. It's like completely metal. It does have metal arms, so we're kind of like, is this the man with the metal arm? I don't really know, but it's really scary.
But like, if nobody would describe that as man with metal arms.
No,
It's
they'd be
literally
like-
a Skeletor dragon thing made out of metal.
with eyes that are teeth and stuff.
Yeah.
So
I think teeth that are eyes would be weirder.
that's true. I can see you.
Dear God.
But anyway, so they're putting all these cages onto this ship, I guess, or some sort of transport. We hear Kami are crying, and they seem to be trapped in these cages, and they're using these Kami for something. We don't know. And as one of the Hios and Reckoners is asking this metal skeleton-y beast thing what to do with this warehouse, it just replies, burn it. Like, fucking get rid of all the evidence. And so they throw this vial at the warehouse, and it catches on fire. And then they drive off.
Yeah. Do we get the name of the monster at this point, or is that later?
I don't...
I think he overhears the name, right?
Does he?
Oh, no. He finds out later when he... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I believe he finds out later, because the first name we're about to hear. So Kaito, of course, runs into this burning warehouse to find any clues that they could possibly find. because this is the only lead, and if this burns up, we don't know what's going on.
Right.
So, run into this warehouse, everything's on fire, and we have a just brutally wounded Tameshi laying on the ground.
And I actually really liked the way this scene was written, because he's like just runs in and he's just looking for anything that's not on fire to kind of grab as evidence. You know, like everything's burning up. He's just like, "Can I grab that?" No, it's ruined. And then he turns and he sees Tameshi in the corner, up, leaned up against the wall. Clearly, like just one look tells you he's mortally wounded, basically.
And very clearly that it was the skeleton that did it. This robot
like,
skeleton.
It was a hole in his chest about the size of the arm
of the thing.
Monster.
So Kaito runs over to Tameshi and basically does the classic, "You're going to be okay, but just keep holding on. We're going to get you help. It's going to be okay. I'm here for you." And, Tameshi just turns around and, as you would, seeing someone you haven't seen in a very long time. "I'm sorry, I should have told you about, about the man with the metal arm."
And then Kaito was like, "We don't have fucking time, man. You have like 3 words left.
Yeah.
Tell me who he is."
And so Tameshi says, "Tezzeret." What? Tezzeret?
Man with metal arm is Tezzeret?
Oh no. Crazy that we're in this future world, and there's the guy that we know who's horrible from a lot of other future worlds. Crazy. But anyway, that was the one that I liked that he did run up to Tameshi and it was the whole thing. But I thought it was strange to me that immediately Tameshi knew that he had been betraying Kaito, and that's why Kaito was there. The only thing I regret in my life is not telling you about that or something.
Yeah, that part was a little cheesy. Right?
It was literally one line of dialogue that lost me for a second, but through it was fine.
I actually would have preferred if he had just been dying and been like, "Tezzeret."
Yeah, that's all he had to do. Because nobody cares if he's if they're on good terms. He's dying. Those things go out the window.
There's a line later that I'll talk about, but Kaito didn't care that much either. But
yeah. So, in any case, Kaito gets to escape freely, but now we have the name of the man.
And
Tezzeret.
He swipes Tameshi's key card.
That's true. Yeah. So
into the lab.
He pickpockets his buddy who died, just to make sure,
He's rifling through the dead body, gets his keys.
Classic Dungeoneer. If you've ever played an RPG where you kill something and you pick up all their gold or whatever, this is exactly what it is.
That's what I was thinking of.
No,
you just immediately rifle through the body.
One of my best friends, he betrayed me, but I still love him. Wait, does he have anything good? Oh, key card. Okay, that could be helpful. And then he just jumps out the window. All right, but with that, let's keep going to another portion that we have. After a lot of I guess, does he use the key card at that point? I don't think so.
No. I think he goes to the library or some shit
or whatever.
He's just looking up Tezzeret however he can.
Oh yeah, he's just asking everybody. I think he does go to Otawara to figure out, because they have a library there, I guess, and he's trying to find Tezzeret. Nobody fucking knows who Tezzeret is or anything about Tezzeret, but apparently there's a story, or somebody knows at one point that Tezzeret. Someone told a story about someone named Tezzeret in the swamp where the Nozumi live.
Yeah, this was hard for me to piece together how this could possibly be the case, but apparently there is one Nozumi, who is the rat people, who knows who Tezzeret is. But apparently there must be someone else who knows that this Nozumi knows about a Tezzeret and told Kaito about that.
Yeah. Or
anyways, I guess there was a Nozumi.
Yeah. So what happened is that there was one Nozumi who saw Tezzeret, and then a lot of Nozumi who heard about it but didn't really know if it was real or not.
But what's he going to be able to tell you other than what's in the story? It's the story. So the story is there was a Nozumi village that was burned to the ground by Tezzeret, or agents of Tezzeret or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. But I guess Tezzeret was betrayed by his own people and left there in the burning village for the Nozumi to find. and then the Nezumi held him captive, and then a dragon came and like got Tezzeret back somehow. He like bargained for Tezzeret.
And then because so it was a little confusing. It was like
It just felt like a whole part that didn't really need to be there.
it seemed to be something that was alluding to Tezzeret had come here at some point, got trapped, and then Nicol Bolas had to come and take him for the War of the Spark stuff, right? That's kind of alluded to.
I think it was trying to like plant that War of the Spark, Tezzeret, Nicol Bolas thing.
Yeah,
But it was
which
just, like,
now that we're talking about War of the Spark, you know what? I'll talk about it later because I have a little gripe
That's
about
later.
it.
That's later.
I'll talk about it later. But anyway, so
But I guess there was a kid, Nezumi, whose parents died in that fire, but saw Tezzeret or something.
yeah, and this
But no other
Nezumi's
Nezumi saw Tezzeret, even though he was like held captive by
because they
him
all
for-
died. I don't know. I don't understand. I thought
The
that,
kid's like still a kid.
I thought it burned after Tezzeret. It doesn't matter. Why are we talking about this? So Kaito is looking.
There's a Nezumi. There's a rat person.
His name
There's a kid
is
who knows
Nashi.
Tezzeret.
We're looking for Nashi, the little
May or may not be a lead on Tezzeret.
yeah. So this is the side quest of the story.
Yeah.
So let's just blaze through it. Kaito goes.
That's why it has the most holes.
Exactly. Kaito goes into the swamp trying to find him. He goes up to like a Nezumi house, knocks on the door, says, "Hey, can I talk to Nashi?" And they're like, "No, there's never been a Nashi
They're all like,
here."
"Fuck you. You're
Yeah.
human, and we're rat folk.
Rat
and
folk.
you haven't treated us. Your people haven't treated us well."
Blah blah blah. So he hides, but then he has his Tanuki go over and drone around, and then he hears that we'll send word to Nashi, but we'll have to wait till nightfall. And so then they send their drone out after it becomes dark, and then we follow the drone to Otawara. What? We were just there. Why didn't we find Nashi fucking in Otawara? Why did we go to this swamp?
And the one thing I wanted to mention is that in the Nezumi swamp, he mentions how there were some people there who were part of the underworld. They were part of a Nezumi gang, but they were called the something Reckoners.
Yeah, but they were the Okiba Reckoners, right?
Keeper Reckoners. But I was like, is every gang just called the Reckoners?
Maybe
In this
now.
fucking plane?
I wonder.
Why is it like wherever I'm from, Reckoners?
It might be like
I'm up with a new sports team, you know. Like,
well, the Reckoners could be like like a family, you know, like it becomes like, oh, that's how you know it's a gang, right? Reckoners equals gang, and then you're like,
yeah.
it's the whatever gang, but it's like, oh, the whatever Reckoners, and that just because it's been 1,200 years, they're like every crime thing is called Reckoners.
We're all Reckoners.
Yeah, and then there's the original Reckoners, and everyone else is trying to, I don't know, but the Akiba Gang Shinobi, that's a card from original. So Akiba have been around.
So you're
for a long
suggesting
time.
it's like it's like a cartel or something. It's like wherever you're from, cartel, or wherever you're from,
Basically, yeah.
gang.
That has been adopted in the language. Anyways, doesn't super matter, but we go to find Nashi. Oh, now Kaito's in Otawara again, and we end up running into someone that Kaito doesn't know who they are, but we quickly we know it's Tamio because he's having a fight with
Oh
this
right, I already spoiled that.
moonfolk. Yeah, with this moonfolk that has scrolls and does scroll
Should
magic.
have tried to say the man with the metal arm was Tamio.
get that in there. Yeah, cause anyway, so they do the classic, hey, we're fighting for a while till we realize that we're actually friends. But the important thing that happens in this is that Tamio has a paralyzing scroll. It's like a spell that she reads that paralyzes Kaito and he can't move. And that's where they're kind of like, oh, actually, no, we can be friends. We're on the same side. And what do we find out?
Yeah, I mean, it's also, I just wanted to quickly say, I think it was worth noting that he gets very aggressive in his attacks against her, just like he did against the Emperor when they were sparring. And again, Tamio is able to kind of parry his attacks and buy enough time to read the scroll to paralyze him.
Yeah.
So it's like, again, his kind of
Hubris.
bravado getting
Yeah.
him into, flying too close to the sun kind of thing.
Turns out he kind of sucks. He's not really good at fighting.
Yeah.
He's the only thing he ever did
you
in
think
his life.
that by the end of the story he overcomes this, right? That's what it's leading
Actually,
up to?
no, this is really interesting. He's not good at fighting, but he is really good at sneaking. That's the best thing best thing he can do is sneak around and steal food. Like
Yeah, classic.
but
Classic rogue.
but he can't fight. Yeah, he's just a flying 1-2, but he can't he can't fight.
But
for
yeah,
sure.
so Tamio was asking him to stop looking into Nashi. He refused by swinging his sword at her. She paralyzed him, and then we find out that Nashi is Tamio's son.
Like a adopted son, I'm assuming.
Yeah, no, I think there actually was something in Tamio's story that I've read before, that she had like some sort of affiliation with the Nezumi, and she adopted one whose parents died in a burning like I actually, when I read this, that memory triggered in my mind that this was part of Tamio's backstory, that she had like adopted Nezumi child from a fire.
That's pretty fucking
So
cool.
I guess that's
sick.
That like is what brings this side quest together. I think is the reason they did this, is because to kind of bring Tamio into the story and explain her backstory
With that,
more.
that's pretty awesome. I did not know that, so I like that a lot. That this has been planned for a while. Wonderful, love.
Yeah, or whether it was planned or they just like that was part of Tamio's backstory and they wove that into the story.
Sure, but like in either case, it's nice that those old text and new text fit. And yeah, we have a nice little chat with Tamio. She doesn't really talk very much to Nashi about those types of incidents, and are continuing to try to get him to overcome them. Because of course it's horrible trauma and you don't want to bring it up all the time. So, hey, don't talk to my son about that fucking horrible thing where his parents burned. Like, don't do
Please
that.
don't mention. Yeah, right. She's like, so she's about to wipe his memory, so he stops chasing after her son, and then he mentions Tezzeret, and that's what makes her like come to terms with him. But yeah, exactly. When they're at her home drinking tea or whatever, and Nashi comes around, she tells him in his mind with telepathy that please don't mention the horrible man who killed my son's entire village and family.
That would be
because
horribly scarring.
Try not to have him relive that trauma.
Yeah, that'd be nice. He just wants to go because Nashi is like really enthusiastic and loves technology and working on it. And immediately the first
seems like a smart kid.
Yeah, like basically sees Kaito's drone and has like a million questions of how it works and all the different things and what chips did you use, and never mind, I have too many questions, I need to stop talking.
Yeah.
That kind of feeling.
Yeah, because he's trying to build his own drone.
So through this conversation, it's kind of like, it feels like they sit down for tea. Tamio explains that she actually knows who the Emperor is and has met them before, which would make sense because Tamio and the Emperor were both at the War of the Spark.
What?
This is the first time we were introduced to the Wanderer, which is the Wandering Emperor in Kamigawa. Obviously, this isn't something you're learning right now, I'm sure, because the cards have been out for a week and you've been looking at them. But
yeah,
this is nice that we're finally kind of tying some things together from a character we've known earlier, and now we're kind of finding out, all these things about them. And Tamio knows that, I think this is the moment we realize it, that the Wanderer wanders not of their own power. Their spark is unstable, and they do not choose where they go. They just planeswalk randomly. So the only reason the Wanderer was at the War of the Spark is because
that's just where they
the planar beacon pulled all the planeswalkers to Ravnica,
Yeah.
and so they got immediately pulled to Ravnica and could not leave because of the Immortal Sun. Now, my question here: where the fuck was Kaito during the War of the Spark? Because he's a planeswalker, and all the planeswalkers were pulled to Ravnica.
It must have been during the 1 year when the Emperor was a planeswalker and Kaito was not yet a planeswalker.
So then, that means that the Wanderer...
So the Emperor was like 14. Or the Wanderer was 14.
15-ish at the War of the Spark. That can make sense. I can kind of piece that together a little bit.
That's why the card was so crappy.
Yeah. It's not...
It's just a kid.
Yeah, but the original Wanderer isn't the worst, though. It's like... it's acceptable.
It's an uncommon.
I guess playing it in Commander, like, every once in a while the like prevent non-combat damage thing really comes up, and you're like, oh yeah, prevent that, and that just is helpful. But anyway,
It's not one of the ones that saw much play.
no, it was a helpful removal spell unlimited. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
We digress.
We digress. But important information.
So I don't know if it's just because I already sort of, like, obviously I already knew that the Emperor was the Wanderer and she planeswalked on that night when he couldn't find her. But I was sitting there like, okay, your raccoon dog is a kami that was destined to find the Emperor. It's created to find the Emperor. And then when you also wanted to find the Emperor, it merged teams with you and ignited your spark and gave you the ability to planeswalk. Shouldn't you have figured out that maybe the Emperor planeswalked somewhere? Because this thing is trying to be like, hey, we need to go to other planes to find the Emperor.
Yeah. Well, yes. They like...
And he was searching on other planes, right? So then it's just like, he sounds so surprised. Like, of course, she was a planeswalker, and that's why she planeswalked that night. It's like, why do you sound surprised? You were already looking for her on other planes.
Maybe this was him piecing it together that maybe she was moving around while he was moving around. In his mind, she was in one place, and he would just had to find the place. Maybe that's
it was like Tezzeret took her somewhere
and hid her or something, and like, he had to just find her
for 10 years. Come on.
Yeah, because later we find a little bit more information about this kind of situation, but
also Kaito's not necessarily the sharpest tool in the ship.
No, he's supposed to be a samurai.
Not like it's a
Tamio does talk about the reality chip, which is the jellyfish-looking thing that we have the blueprints for from earlier. And we think that this piece of technology is a thing that could keep Tamio in one... not keep Tamio, keep the Wanderer in one place and keep their spark stable.
Right, and Kaito, even though he wasn't able to put a lot of different obvious things together so far, he was able to put it together that the blueprints he saw were probably that reality chip that she's talking about.
Now, at this moment, do we know that Tezzeret was involved with the reality chip, and that was probably the piece of technology that sent the Wanderer on her spark journey? Or is that something we learn later? I can't remember.
So it's something that we only know adjacently. We know that Tameshi was working on or built this thing, and Tameshi was meeting with Tezzeret.
Right, so...
I think we know that it was Tezzeret, actually, because Tamio has been studying Tezzeret for a while.
Yes.
And she said, I've been watching him, we should do this slowly, gather as much information, figure out why they're doing this before we fight them, because we only have one shot at this. They don't know we're on to them. They don't know about us. We know about them. We only have one chance. And Kaito's like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll totally do that. And then as soon as he leaves, he runs right for the lab and tries to fuck shit up.
Classic. So Kaito, once again, gets into Atawara so that he can find the reality chip.
And I think they even said, like, oh, no, maybe this is the next one, but it's like the cameras are still fucked up from last time.
Yeah.
It's just like,
whatever.
The security at this place is not all it's cracked up.
It's pretty shitty when this guy, who's not the sharpest tool in the box, can do it. But
he does have a key card now.
It's true. He does have a key card. So he jumps into the lab, and there is just fucking deflated kami everywhere. Just like, it reminds me of that episode of SpongeBob where they're obsessed with the jellyfish jelly, and all the jellyfish are like kind of slumped around on the ground. I don't know if you watched a lot of SpongeBob as a kid, but
I know what SpongeBob is, but I don't know.
There's just, it's really sad where there's all these jellyfish just like basically getting milked to death around them. It kind of feels like that kami.
It's a kid's show. That's a bummer.
Yeah, but in any case, there's a lot of kami around that look very unwell. They're still alive. They're just not...
Like all their energy's been sapped.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And then we find the jellyfish reality chip.
Yeah.
Which Kaito pockets.
Pockets that.
Yep. And gets away scot-free, right?
Oh, not quite.
Not quite.
Actually, while he's in the hallway, whistling away, walking down, thinking he just won at life. I think there's even a line of him being like, "Stupid Tamio, waiting is for idiots."
Yeah, exactly.
And then he basically walks right into the big metal monster from the warehouse that killed his friend, who reveals himself, sort of, but he reveals his name. What was his name?
Jin Gitaxis.
Oh my god! Isn't that the? Oh my!
A
God,
Phyrexian? What?
Kaito doesn't know what he's
I
messing.
haven't seen a Phyrexian since Kaldheim. What? This is insane. No, it actually is really exciting.
Yeah.
So we have a Phyrexian, which we, through the conversation earlier, and we knew exactly what this was just by them talking about it.
Yeah.
Because that's what Phyrexians look like, and that's what Jin.
I mean, they also like put the art in the story.
Well, there is that too.
In case there was any doubt, it's just a big picture of Jin Gitaxias.
So Jin Gitaxis is there. However, they won't fight with Kaito. There's a bunch of ninjas there as well. That's ninja surprise.
I feel like if he just killed Kaito, the story would have gone a little differently. But anyways, he decides to chill while his former allies. I mean, I guess maybe they weren't reckoners, but
I don't know.
They're definitely ninjas.
There's a bunch of ninjas.
They all attack Kaito.
Kaito does a classic.
But he's slightly better than them. Yeah, they do the one guy at a time thing.
Yeah. And Kaito throws his smoke bomb on the ground just to be able to escape out the window and get away from all the ninjas. Where, of course, right outside is a giant mech. It's a mech that turns into a dragon when he gets there.
So he's pretty fucked, actually. He looks and he's like, that dragon is about to use its dragon breath, and the berth will be too wide.
Like
for
Shivan
me to do
fire
anything.
or whatever.
Yeah. And, I can't just planeswalk slightly further away for reasons. And so he thinks he's screwed. But out of nowhere, some sort of wandering entity just comes out and boom, kills the dragon mech.
In classic, it's in one place. There's a slice in the middle, and it slides apart.
It's about to shoot its dragon breath, and then
It's dead. And then the Wanderer is standing there. And Tamio is also there to put a invisibility spell on them so that Jin Gitaxis cannot see. And they kind of have a cute little reunion of like whatever one-liner that the Wanderer says as they escape. And finally, our protagonist has finally found the one person they've been looking for this whole story. It's nice.
he found his friend.
Yes, his friend. They have a very
His
close
friend
friendship.
who he's been tirelessly searching for 10 years.
They're only friends, though. It's fine. Anyway, so with that, I think we are ready for another beer break before we get into the final act of our
That's
Drunken
right.
Vorthos.
That concludes, Act 2, and I don't know about you, but when I go to see a play, I always get another beer between acts. So
Yeah, that's true. Whenever I can, I will get another beer.
anytime they allow me.
So then let's go to a beer break. So our third beer of the evening is Old Style Pilsner.
Nice.
So this is of course, a Pilsner made in Canada. It is 5%, and it was made in 1926. And it has probably, I believe the actual brewery might have changed hands a couple times. It is now currently being made by Molson Coors is the company that owns it, but it does have a very specific campaign style. And if you look at the can, there's like a little, it's like a car with some bunnies in it that are driving by this train. And if you go to the website, they actually have an 8-bit video game you can play of a car with the rabbits in it trying to pick up beer cans and bring the beer to the village. It's very strange. I was surprised going to the website and playing a video game, but I got stuck in it for a little bit. Being like, oh, this is kind of fun.
Sure.
But I like that they put the effort into that, and they most of the information they give you is, oh, we make this Pilsner in Pils country. and they have pictures of Pills Country, which is of course an imaginary place. But I like that idea of like, hey, this is essentially it's a silver beer. It's just like a really cheap one that's like you can drink well, and but the mythos that they've built behind this is kind of nice. So I think that might be a good way of getting these sold.
I know this as the cheapest beer in the LCBO.
Yes,
I think it's $2 a beer.
it is, which also brings it to the classic. Like this is Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's the level, you know. Some of these other ones,
Right.
you know, we had Miller High Life, which is like $2.25 or something. Moosehead can creep up to
Downright
$3.
expensive.
So, you know, let's see if it's so bad that you can't get it, or hey, maybe it's might beat out some of the more expensive ones. Stay tuned to find out.
Yeah.
But before we get there, we have some more story for you.
Yeah. So before the break, I'm sure that, you know, everybody needs a reminder.
It happened like a second ago.
The Emperor saved Kaito's ass for what I'm sure is the first and only time that will happen.
Yeah, definitely the only time for sure. Yeah. Kaito can fight very well.
Yeah. Never needs his ass
Never
saved
needs
again.
his ass saved. So they have safely traveled to Aganjo. So now we have Kaito, Tamio, and the Emperor, the Wandering Emperor, are safely there. And they're looking over Kyodai, who doesn't seem super well, and the Emperor also doesn't feel extremely well at that moment, because they do still have that kind of psychic connection between their feelings. And while this is happening, the Emperor is fighting to make sure that she stays on the plane, because as we know, the Wanderer, the Emperor, their spark wants them to planeswalk constantly. So she's fighting to try to stay on this plane as she has these pains in her stomach and her body.
Now, so what I didn't quite understand is like, is her wandering nature so bad that she wants to planeswalk like this often, like within hours or, you know, even a day of arriving on the plane? Or is it she somehow sensed that she needed to be on Kamigawa, somehow got herself to go there, but she's not supposed to be there, and so her wandering nature needs her to leave. It's like pushing her to leave. Like they didn't totally explain how the Emperor, you know, came into the exact situation when Kaito needed saving on Kamigawa, but I assume it was some sort of like, hey, my friend really needs my help right now.
Yeah, I'm assuming it's some sort of divine intervention. I'm sure there is some connection with Himoto, the Natuki, what is it? Tanuki. And Kyodai. So maybe that was kind of like something going on with that, because they have a connection, and so does the Emperor. My understanding is that no one understands how the Emperor or the Wanderer planeswalks, or why, or how often, or where. So we get to kind of make up the rules as we tell the story.
Yeah, I mean, it seems that she doesn't just planeswalk every few hours, and so the fact that she was so uncomfortable being on Kamigawa after like an hour or two of being there, to me, maybe signified she's not supposed, like her spark doesn't want her to be here.
Gotcha. Maybe. Who knows? I wonder if it's like she planeswalks and stays somewhere for a week, and then planeswalks and then is there for an hour, and planeswalks somewhere else and stays there for 3 months, and then planeswalks somewhere. You know what I mean? Like it's just kind of like,
Yeah, and it's just unlucky that this was a short one.
Where she actually wants to be here. But we are here, and of course we have the reality chip, which was swiped and safely stowed with Kaito. And we do just straight up insert it right into the Emperor's hand. On the back of it, just like in her veins, kind of. Ugh, I hate needles.
Yeah, so I guess the chip like stays there, and then that's what the jellyfish tentacles are for. They like jump through your flesh and like hook up with your veins. Basically.
Ugh, I can't. Yeah. Ugh, I don't like that. Anyway, so that seems to be helping. While the Emperor is now stabilizing because of the reality chip, Aiko and Lightpaw have now joined up with them into our gang. Now we got a gang. Love having a gang on a plane.
The band is back together.
Yeah, everyone's together. And oh no,
And Tamio's there.
and Tammy was there as well. But oh no, we do find out that now that the Wanderer has the reality chip in her skin, she is now getting just flashes of Atawara, just where the chip was made. There's like a machine there that created this chip, and so she has visions of what's going on there. So not only does she have a weird connection with Kyodai and Aganjo, she now has the reality chip that gives her visions of what's happening over in Atawara, where the bad guys are. Super helpful, right? Or
Yeah, it's really convenient.
maybe not.
So what she finds out is that because she came in and killed the dragon mech, Jin Gitaxis now knows that she's back, and he has spread that information to her enemies. Essentially, there are some uprisers in Kamigawa who believe that the Aiganjo castle shouldn't lead anymore, and they should be free, and there should be no emperor, basically.
Well, to be fair, so this character is Rizona, who we have not met yet in the story or in the cards at this moment. And she leads the Asari Uprisers, who we have seen some cards spoiled so far that are a part of the Asari, but it's kind of like the red samurai in the mountains where they live. And they are headed to Aganjo to attack the Emperor, which, to be fair, they don't believe that Kamigawa needs an emperor because, they've been doing okay for the last 10 years without one. So, I can't really blame them for being upset. And, it is what it is.
So she gets kind of wind of that because Jin Gitaxis is the one who tipped them off, and they wanted to get there before the castle would be ready and all that. And luckily, she has this pairing now, so she knows right away. And so she mobilizes the samurai to defend the keep. And then they also have to make a plan for what to do about the lab, basically, because, there was all this equipment in the lab and all these kami there. So they're deciding who does what, basically.
Yeah. Kaito has a great plan. Hey, let's fucking blow it up. Let's blow up all the stuff, all of it, to smithereens. Of course, Lightpaw doesn't think that's a good idea because, hey, leveling a building doesn't seem amazing, especially for the futurists. But
Kaito seems sure that if he blows it up, they'll lose all their research and won't have any ability to
get it off the internet or whatever, because
they definitely
there's no internet.
Save it to the cloud,
or something. But the Wandering Emperor thinks that's also a really good idea, and she should come along. That the three planeswalkers should go together into Atawara, back where Jin Gitaxis is, and blow it up. The three of them.
Don't worry though. She gets guilt-tripped into staying.
Mm-hmm. So she can't go because they're like, oh, you know what? No, the samurai want to protect you here. You should stay because it's just the nice thing to do. She's like, okay, I guess I leave all the time, so maybe I should stay sometimes.
Hey, man, just actually do your job for like 10 minutes.
You're like, holy shit. Like, just can you, please? Obviously, Lightpaw would be a much better emperor than the Wandering Emperor because Lightpaw knows what to do all the time.
If only that were possible.
If only it was possible.
But in reality, she ends up staying because Kyodai is quite weak as well. And so if Kyodai were to get... Who knows what could happen, basically.
Exactly. So it's kind of this weird... The Wandering Emperor, if she goes, she knows what Kyodai is feeling and would feel upset by that. If she stays, she can see what's going on in the lab and kind of see things from there. So... in either sense, it's kind of like she's kind of trapped between these weird worlds. But in the end, Kaito and Tamio are the only ones to go destroy the lab.
So they trot off onwards to adventure. Mm-hmm. And they go to the lab.
And they walk there.
And they get this...
They just walk.
They're like, let's... Well, I mean, I'm sure it's like a, speed walk.
Yeah. Ninja.
Like a light jog.
Naruto run, I'm sure. Because he's a ninja, right? So
it's like Goku running along that wall. Do you remember the episode where Goku's running on the wall?
What, the episode?
There were only like 40 of them. So you missed all 40 of those episodes.
Like the snake thing to go to where he trains in the really heavy gravity area? Yeah.
Hyperbolic time chamber.
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, so they end up getting to Atawara, and whoa, it seems pretty easy to break in this time. Easier than all the other
Yeah.
times that they've broken.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking when I got there. I was like, it was super easy all other times as well, but it was even easier this time. And I
Yeah.
think this is when they even mentioned that the cameras were still bugged from when he did it earlier.
And you're
so
like,
it could never
wait
been
a
fixed.
second. This should have been harder. Whatever. Let's just keep going.
Anyways, shoulder shrug.
Yeah.
So this is the part where it's like, I know Kaito's, not proven to be a genius, but I'm pretty sure that Tamio is supposed to be at least somewhat intellectual.
And, like-
and she's just like, you know what? This is fine.
This is fine. This is great.
The
actually.
door is literally like open for them when
Yeah.
they go there.
They walk in. They're like, look, there's no Kami on the ground anymore. That's a,
A
good
big
thing.
arrow like, hey, Kaito and Tamio, this way.
Go there. Turns out it's a trap because, why would it not be a trap? And Jin
My favorite
Gitaxis
part too.
and
My
Tezzeret are
favorite
there.
part too is they're coming up to the thing, and he's like, "Oh no! What if it's so easy to get here because they've already moved their lab?" And he runs in.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's because it's a trap, dumbass. Not because they've already moved their shit. What are you thinking?
They're not afraid of you. You can't fight for shit. So
Why would everyone who's reading this is like trap?
It's a trap, it's a trap.
And you're like, no, it's because they already got rid of the evidence. Runs in. Like, what the?
dumb. Anyway, it didn't even matter if he ran in or not, but it's a trap. And they basically just get wrapped up in shit. And, they're fucked now. They're fucked.
Yeah, so Tamio is like literally wrapped in random metal that
Mm-hmm.
came out of the ceiling or something. I wasn't totally sure.
Tezzeret
on
is
that.
like Magneto, and he can control other technologies.
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of this before, but he can.
Yeah, he controls metal,
Yeah.
basically. And so Kaito has like metal all over him, so he tries to fight him, but obviously to no avail. And then my favorite part is later, he has this moment, this introspective moment where he's like, is it important enough to blow up everything with me in it?
Yeah.
In order to save Kamigawa or to save the Emperor is mostly what he's thinking about. And he decides that it is. And then I was like, but the bombs you took are technology that Tezzeret has proven to you several times by the end of this fight that he can control. But I just love this. And then he's like, I'll do it. Yeah. And then Tezzeret just like controls the bomb and throws it away.
He's just like,
dismantles
yeah,
it.
he pulls it apart into all these little pieces, and it's just a bunch of screws and shit on the ground. And Kaito's
Like,
like,
again, your stupidity is charming, but
Yeah.
like,
come on, just eat some more pork dumplings. I know you like this.
yeah.
Which, to be fair, I could, right now, after a couple beers, I could use some pork dumplings. That sounds pretty good.
Okay, but then the luck continues because, as we mentioned, the Emperor can see all, basically. And she sees that her friends idiotically walked into a trap and got themselves super, super fucked up.
Fucked.
And so she knows, hey, I know Kyodai needs me and I know my samurai need me, but these two need me way more. They are literally fucked. So she communes with Kyodai, actually, to give her the energy to be able to planeswalk right into the lab where her friends are being held captive. And she actually appears right on top of Jin Gitaxis and basically has her sword ready and slashes straight through him, just cleaves him pretty much in half. And that's where we enter the next episode.
Yeah. Cliffhanger. I love it. My main takeaway from that is, holy shit, did they kill Jin Gitaxis? What the fuck? I was like, most worried about Jin Gitaxis at this moment.
Oh no, not Jin.
Not the Praetor. Praetors are so cool. You can't kill them.
But that's the thing. I don't think you can really kill Phyrexians.
Yeah.
They just get rebuilt.
Exactly. Which may happen, but
Oh yes, no,
spoilers.
I don't know. Is Jin Gitaxis dead?
who knows? So now we go into the middle of this fight in Atawara, and Jin Gitaxis is just fucked up on the floor, and we're like, are you dead? I don't know. Are you split in half? You got a big gash, but you don't really bleed, so I don't know. Maybe there's some oil leaking. I can't tell.
Yeah.
And as this is happening, The Wanderer has like trapped Tezzeret in this sort of, I don't know, bubble thing. And she's freeing all her friends. And there's, of course, a bunch of other samurai around doing things because they just show up whenever you need them as characters to kill.
Yeah. Just like ninja samurai, they're just expendable.
Yeah.
Tertiary characters.
And we have now freed Kaito and Tamio from their restraints. And while the Wanderer is keeping Tezzeret into this his weird stasis, she is now pulled over to the pain of Kyodai. Fuck. I forgot the name for a second. So Kyodai is like basically getting sieged upon. So that's pulling the Wanderer's attention away from where she is right now. And Tezzeret kind of gets freed and is going to attack her. And I love this where Kaito just throws some crates at him and they knock him unconscious.
Yeah. He uses his telekinesis to just like hit him in the back of the head with crates, and the first one doesn't do it, but the second one really knocks him out. But I just think it's funny because so Tamio had him with her like paralyzing spell, her classic scroll that she already used on Kaito, and then Kaito's like, wait a minute, his body is unable to move, but what about his mind? And as he thinks that, Tezzeret controls the like the metal that's in the reality chip in her and starts like fucking shit up, right? Just like, all right, well, I like your quick thinking of just knocking him out with a crate that was behind him. But, the most important thing to me is learning from your mistakes. So you were like, damn, the paralyzing spell doesn't control Tezzeret's power to affect metal and in particular the reality chip. So I'd just like to say that going forward, we should keep that in mind, that that's an important thing to note. And, like I tell my students, one mistake is okay, but you got to learn.
But two is an F.
Yeah, exactly. One mistake is an F, and two is like you fail so bad you can't actually even attend the university.
You have to move to the States.
Yeah.
So now Tezzeret is unconscious on the ground, and as it's happening, we're like, okay, what the fuck is the plan? What are we going to do? So Jin Gitaxa seems to be dead. Tezzeret is unconscious. Ninja's dealt with. And we're trying to figure out how do we get to Kyodai as fast as possible, because we know Kyodai is in trouble. And Kaito has this whole thing where he's like, well, we don't want to leave our prisoner here, but we can't walk because it takes forever. But carrying there's a part where Kaito's like, carrying a really heavy man made of metal would hurt my back, so I don't want to do that.
I think he even uses the line, like, I don't know if you've noticed, but he's all muscle and metal.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's like, what? Okay. Aren't you telekinetic? Can't you just pick them up with your mind? I'm confused. So help me with the bits of this plan, because there's something where they take a mech and they decide, because both Tamio and Kaito have telekinesis, that they can use their telekinesis in tandem to fly this mech using the reality chip that they take out of the Wanderer.
Right. So there's a sentry mech that flies around the city as a spot, like I don't know, like it's trying to protect the city, right? So it's a police entity. Now, Tamio and Kaito have telekinetic powers, but while you can throw a crate at someone's head, it's different to control a giant mech that can transport everyone for an hour or whatever, how far it is.
Including a fully muscular metal man.
Yeah, including a muscle metal dude.
Yeah.
So basically they decide that together their telekinetic powers aren't enough to do that. But Tamio has surmised that the reality chip focuses and increases powers. So if she attaches the reality chip to herself, and with Kaito's help, she thinks maybe they can take control of one of these things and fly it all the way to Aiganjo. Which, hey, turns out she was right. That's exactly enough power to get the job done. It's like, I estimate that would put our power level over 9,000.
Yeah.
That's exactly enough to fly to Aganjo Castle.
Yeah. So as we're getting to Aganjo, Tezzeret wakes up and decides that he's going to take all of Kaito's smoke bombs and explode them right there in like the thing that they're in. And
Because remember, all they did was knock him out with a crate. It's not like a magic spell.
nothing really happened. Yeah, he's not paralyzed. He just was knocked out. So he woke up, threw smoke everywhere. Everyone's coughing, and of course we crash land our thing into the ground into Aganjo.
Yeah.
But we wanted to be there anyway, so that's good, right? Although Tezzeret's, running around doing
Just like to say,
things.
that's the second time that Tezzeret has been your captive and escaped with his ability to control technology, which you are well aware of.
It's also important to know that all of Kaito's bombs have been taken. That he doesn't have a single one left. It might be important later.
Maybe.
Just maybe. So after they crash land, the Wanderer runs to Kyodai, which means Tezzeret runs after her because he wants to get her.
It's relevant for such a stupid reason.
Yeah, which means that Kaito wants to run after Tezzeret to stop him from getting to the Wanderer, who's getting to Kyodai, and then Tamio flies above them all, just watching it happen.
Yeah, Tamio's just like, la, la, la.
Yeah, la, la, I'm up here. And through all of this, the Wanderer is much faster than the rest of them, and to move quickly, Kaito takes off all of his armor and different things, and he catches up to Tezzeret, and they square off. And it's before this happens, after they crashed, Kaito's like, I gotta do something really quickly, and then he whispers something to his Tanuki, and then lets it run off. And they're like, what's that? He's like, plan B, or whatever he said. I don't know. He said some one-liner at that moment, and I can't remember what it was. But
Yeah, and I also want to give Kaito maybe undeserved credit, but he took off a lot of the metal and technology in his armor and stuff so that Tezzeret couldn't just, like, control him.
okay, there we go.
Easily.
Coming full circle. He's starting to learn, right? You're picking up
Maybe.
on that story.
It might have just been to catch up to him. But, yeah. And the other thing that's hilarious is that so Kaito is tracking Tezzeret. So hold on to that learning thing. And he sees that Tamio is floating above him, and Tezzeret is so focused on getting to the Emperor that Tezzeret does not see Tamio. And she's reading a scroll. And Kaito literally throws something at Tezzeret. It hits him. Tezzeret notices Tamio and interrupts her reading of the scroll. He saw that his ally was not being noticed and was about to read a scroll on Tezzeret, and was so impulsive that he decided, fuck it, I still need to be the one that hits him.
Who does
something.
it or whatever.
And interrupted him, and he was like, oh shit, there's Tamio reading her paralyzed scroll. I can't let that happen. And he like fucks her up. And then that's how this like fight on the rooftop starts. So I was, about to give Kaito credit for doing something smart. And then it's like, no, you're just an idiot.
No,
I assume you had ulterior motives for taking off all your metal.
Yeah, just literally.
It's just lucky.
Yeah.
You just got lucky.
So now they start to fight, and it's kind of in a stance where they're both like pushing their metal things against each other, and it's kind of the face to face.
I think Kaido's like throwing shingles at him because he knows they're not metallic.
And they're kind of in the classic almost standstill of where they're talking to each other face to face. But then Tezzeret feels like a pain in his leg that has been stabbed. And we look down and, it's Aiko and the Tanuki, or Himoto. And she has a couple more of her dagger things.
That's the smartest thing he did the whole thing. Was
ask for help.
Ask his sister for help.
Yeah, ask someone for help. It is important to note, I think, that we've forgotten for a while is that he does have this sword that's really cool that we'd never talk about, that I completely forgot until this moment. It's a sword that also turns into like ninja stars, I guess. So it like unforms,
Right.
and he shoots the ninja stars around with telekinesis, and then they come back and form into a sword again.
The best way to understand it is to check out the art for Kaito. His sword has little like triangles coming out the side, and those triangles can leave the body of the blade and act as ninja stars.
Yeah, which I continually forgot would happen. So this is the first time
It's
I
always
actually
like he sent the
remembered.
ninja stars at the guy, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah.
Oh yeah, that's his sword. I forgot.
But when he sent them at Tezzeret, it was an embarrassing failure.
Yeah, well, like most things he's done with Tezzeret, besides have someone else attack them.
Yeah.
So Tezzeret is now in pain, but it's not going to be too bad of a wound, essentially.
Yeah, I'm imagining she threw the knife from the ground and they're on the roof. So I'm like not even sure how it pierced him.
Yeah, I don't know. She must be
That's a good fucking chuck, I
must have remembered how to do that. Maybe she has a little bit of telekinesis herself, because we don't necessarily know how people.
I mean, she did train in the military arts, or sorry, general studies.
Yeah. In any case, Tamio gets controlled with the reality chip that she still has by Tezzeret.
Okay, but she uses her scroll again to paralyze him. So
Oh,
while he's wounded, she takes out the scroll and paralyzes him. And then they're all like, okay, job done. Tezzeret's paralyzed. And then, for the third fucking time, Tezzeret controls the reality chip on Tamio, stops the paralysis spell against him, and then opens a portal, grabs her, and jumps through the portal.
Not only did he open a portal, but he took his metal arm and just cut into the
He like cut
into a new dimension, basically. Like,
the way he opened the portal was badass.
it was really fucking cool. That's the only thing I remember from that.
But I was
situation,
sitting there
but-
like, are you fucking kidding me? You thought the paralysis spell was enough again? How stupid are you? Like, Jesus, he's proved time and again that he will control the reality chip through your paralysis.
It's so funny because to me, when I was reading all of that, it was just like, whatever they do is never going to stop Tezzeret, and I never cared how it happened because I knew that he would just be able to get out of it. Like, I just skimmed over almost all of it.
The exact same thing. They use the same spell, and then they're like, well, job done. Nothing he can do now. Oh no!
He did it again.
Something. It's like, okay, the first time I was like, you're stupid for not noticing that. This time, it's totally on you.
Yeah,
What the
fuck you. So he stole Tamio. She's gone. We're like, oh shit. But we now jump over to the Wandering Emperor, who is fighting off Rizona, who we still don't really know much about. They kind of talk about it a little bit in this fight about how she shouldn't be emperor, who should rule, or blah, 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 and who cares? Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because as they're in a stalemate, fighting by Kyodai to be like, I should rule, no, I should rule, and your thing is dumb, and your thing is dumb, a rock comes out of nowhere and hits Rizona in the head, and she falls unconscious on the ground. And who threw the rock? Kaito.
Why didn't he throw a smoke bomb?
He didn't have any smoke bombs. And he even mentions, I would have thrown a smoke bomb, except for Tezzeret took all the smoke bombs. Remember earlier?
Oh, all of them.
Wow,
Yeah.
all of them. So important. This turns into a really funny moment for them, where they think it's hilarious that, like, he threw a rock, and she's like, you threw a rock? Why didn't you throw something else? But not, I don't know. It seemed ridiculous to me. This moment was like, okay, why even have the storyline of the Uprisers at all? Because it didn't fucking matter.
Yeah, I do want to mention, though, that the Wanderer was, like, easily whooping her ass.
Yeah.
But didn't want to kill her. So that was what the kind of stalemate that was happening is, like, I'm imagining, like, Neo in The Matrix just easily fighting off Agent Smith and, like, pushing him away. But if Neo just decided never to actually win the fight and just stood there and, like, kept rebuffing him and being like, you're gonna get tired eventually. Like,
Yeah.
I can kill you.
No, yeah, because the Wanderer has this moment with Kyodai where she's like talking to her, being like, I don't want to kill her, but what's going on? And she's basically saying, your enemy won't stop until, like,
if your enemy had won this fight, they wouldn't have given you this.
Yeah, they would have killed you. So what are you gonna do? And it's kind of like, do I kill her? Do I not kill her? And then she gets hit with a rock and goes unconscious, so we don't have to decide.
Right.
Great, strong choice by the writer, I think. to have a rock. Anyway, I thought that was so dumb. I was like, oh, come on. Like, fuck. It just makes me feel like all the uprising stuff was very underwhelming and very unnecessary. And it would have been much easier to get rid of all of that completely and just make it more about Tezzeret and Jin and Gitaxias and put more emphasis on them.
I would have liked if the Emperor, like if you're going to keep this storyline, that the Emperor had to make a decision.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And I don't even care what the decision was.
Yeah.
Like if she has to kill her and, you know, that's a terrible thing for her to have to go through, or she had to like, I don't know, whatever the alternative option.
I guess to be fair, this is a choice to keep that character alive, as opposed to a lot of times it would be, oh, I don't want to kill you, and then some other exterior thing kills her, which is usually her own undoing. It's like she hits a pillar of the building and then the building falls on top of her and she dies. That tends to be a story that happens.
I just didn't like the idea that like Kaito essentially decided it for her. I would have liked, like, you know, she's like a powerful emperor woman who's clearly a super badass. Like,
Yeah.
she had to make the decision herself, you know.
Or something.
Like she decides I'll just knock her out, and
Yeah, or
rather
something.
than, oh, she got knocked out by a rock, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, just some random rock. And it's a funny moment, and then I'm going to kiss my boyfriend. That never happened. They don't kiss each other. This end bit is fine. Basically, the Emperor knows that she's going to planeswalk away because she doesn't have the reality chip, but the reality chip doesn't work very well, so that wasn't a good fix. And in her quote-unquote planeswalking or dying words, she decides that Lightpaw will be the new emperor until she comes back, because someone has to rule, because Rizona was right, someone must rule, and it will be Lightpaw, because he's really great at ruling stuff, and he's boring as hell.
And Lightpaw gets his 8th tail.
Whoa.
From this.
Look at that. Hey, milestone. There you go. Lightpaw gets a new tail.
Getting awfully close to 8.5.
Yep. And that's basically the end of our story here. Kaito has some kind of goodbye words to everyone and decides he's going to look for Tamio, even though the Wanderer has also gone.
It's now time for a tireless search for another friend.
Yeah, apparently. Who cares lots about... He does go to Tamio's family to tell them, hey, she's gone, so don't expect her for dinner.
And speaking of which, like him looking tireless, you know, being such a devoted friend, there was one line that just really like gave me pause way earlier when he's speaking to Tamio, I think, for the first time in her home. But there's a line about Tameshi where he's like, you know, if Tameshi had to die for me to find the Emperor, like, that's what it takes. I was like, poor fucking Tameshi is like the only friend that Kaito had that he really didn't care about.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, what the hell is that? Like, I got the key card off him, so maybe it was worth it.
Like,
the key card that was irrelevant because you broke into the place so easily anyway.
Yeah, it
like,
doesn't
seriously,
fucking matter.
That's what his life was worth to you.
Oh, God. Yeah, you're right. Before we go to our beer break and we do our ratings, we do have one last little epilogue to talk about, because it's a big one. It's a doozy.
Yeah, if you haven't seen any of the spoiler cards, you're about to be surprised.
Yeah, if you have seen anything, you will know it already. We wake up as Tamio is in seemingly New Phyrexia with Jin and Gitaxias, who is alive, kind of hovering over her, and Tezzeret is there as well. And we're realizing that Tamio is hooked up to all these fluids and things, and Jin Gitaxias has been working on her. And in fact, the thing that the Phyrexians were looking for on Kamigawa was in fact not the Kami, but planeswalkers. And they have made and created the first Phyrexian planeswalker. So Tamio has now been completed and turned into a Phyrexian. The most interesting thing about this whole part, which normally seems to be a villainous story where this character has been corrupted with some sort of oil or something else that we've seen before, and their character changes. In this instance, Tamio's character seems to be exactly the same. However, her family has turned from being the people she knows in Kamigawa and Nashi, and now her family is actually Phyrexians. However, she's the same Tamio we've always known, but her alliance has changed.
And her scrolls are written in Phyrexian.
Oh, yes. Yeah, she reads Phyrexian now. And she has 3 like iron or like metal scrolls that she swear she would never use on anyone because they're too horrible. They're looking
I
kind
have a
of...
feeling she's going to use
They're
them.
looking kind of good now. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel bad for Nashi.
I feel really bad for Nashi now. You're like, that sucks.
Hopefully he builds that drone.
Hopefully he builds that drone. Hopefully we get a Nashi card. I want to see a Nashi card. Jeff, before we go to our beer break, once again, let's just get our quick last thoughts of the piece. I'll start my last thoughts. I kind of have them formulated, but overall, I was really happy with the story. I like where it went. It was really fun to come back to this world, but different. We traveled to a bunch of different places in it. However, only a couple of them felt a little disjointed or out of place, but for the most part, it was nice to kind of see all the people. And it felt real. Some of the relationships felt well established and put together, even if I could laugh at a couple of them. They felt stronger than a lot of the other ones that we've seen in the past. And ultimately, I liked having consequences to actions. It was helpful, where I feel like recently it seems a lot of things kind of people got off scot-free and seemed to be a little fluffy. So I was happy to see that they fucked up. Something happened to Tamio. The Wanderer is still wandering, and we have some work to do. So that's what I thought.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Since we've been doing these Drunken Vorthos, we've read a bunch of these stories. I think this is one of the better ones. I felt like the characters' action, like it was a little less contrived, I would say. Mm-hmm. The characters' actions, for the most part, felt a little more motivated and like actually something they might do. Versus, this just happened to push the story along, which happened in
the last couple,
some of the more recent ones. And I think part of that too with the whole Innistrad story was trying to fit so many characters into it, and you just don't have a lot to work with. So you have to understand that like this is like 5 short stories that these people are writing, and they're very short stories. So you just don't have that much time to tell a full tale. But I thought this, like you're saying, this is pretty good. The character development was a lot better than it's been in some of the more recent ones, and even if like I think some of the stuff that Kaito did was really stupid. It's like maybe Kaito's just not a smart guy. There's nothing wrong with, like, your protagonist is not a genius. He excels at other things, so yeah, it was a pretty good story overall. I think I just had a few issues with like why wasn't Tamio a little more in tune with some of the obvious stuff that was happening, because the first 3 stories depict her as very in tune with all that, and then the last 2 have her very like, I'll just go with the flow and do whatever and walk right into a trap and like like not understand that my spell doesn't work for this and not adapt to that. Like that didn't feel in character for her, which I felt bad because she's the first Planeswalker to get completed. I would have liked that I understood how she got duped into this a little better. But overall, I enjoyed reading it. And it was fun, and I think one of the better ones.
Let's go to our last call, where we get to drink the last beer of the night and rate all of them and finish this thing up.
All right, Zach, you ready for the last one?
Yep, here we go.
Okay, what we got here is Old Milwaukee Ice. Okay, has to be ice. So this is, I'm presuming that it's from the U.S. because it's called Old Milwaukee. But I guess in Canada here it's owned by like a local, like a Canadian brewery that distributes it, or it works a little differently than it does in the U.S.?
It does, yeah. I'll get to that in a second. Just if you want to read the specs, I'll explain that.
Yeah. So this is 5.5%. Founding year is 1934. And just a quick tidbit, I don't know if we've done this on the Silver Series before, but we could do it again. Ice is kind of the opposite of light. So an ice beer means that they've run the beer down the line and then they've frozen it. And because alcohol freezes at a lower temperature than water, that means you're freezing water when you freeze it. And then they remove the ice, and so the beer is a little more alcoholic after that. So when you see a beer that's like something ice, it's the opposite of light. They got it up a little bit in percentage by freezing off some of the water.
That's really cool. I did not know. I thought they were just trying to say that it's cold. But that's really cool. I like that. So ice taking out water in your beer makes sense. The reason it was a little funky is because Old Milwaukee was originally, obviously, it's a U.S. brewery in Milwaukee. But as it was expanding, there was the Canadian part of the Canadian beers are brewed by Sleeman. And then through this process of like changing owners and all this stuff, the Canadian one has been a kind of separate from the rest of Old Milwaukee. So their percentages change drastically. So their ice is actually 6% instead of the 5.5 we have up here. And they're like, the label is black. There's a bunch of other things that are different.
Freeze off more water up there.
Yeah, I guess so. But in any case, they do seem to be almost separate entities. So this is definitely the Canadian one that we're looking at here. But yeah, still freezing off your water here. It's good. All right.
All right, now we got to rate these, don't we?
We got to rate them. We're going to rate them from worst to best.
Yeah, silver 4 to silver 1.
So I know what my worst one is. Are you ready for your worst one? your silver 4?
I think I know what my silver 4 is too.
Mm-hmm. You go first this week.
All right. I'll go first. My silver 4 is the champagne of beers.
Ooh.
Yeah. This one's the Miller High Life. It's not my favorite. I don't know what it was about it. Maybe it's just its place in the lineup. It's something we always worry about. But it just didn't hit me right.
Yeah.
Just took a sip and I was like,
okay.
Don't love it.
Interesting. My silver 4 is definitely Old Milwaukee Ice.
You took one sip and had that.
I knew it immediately after that sip. I was like, it's make or break right here. And boy, did I was like, ooh, all right.
So if I'm being honest, I thought that one was going to be my pick. And so I had it lined up against Miller High Life. And when I took the sip, I was like, I think that hit me better than Miller High Life.
Interesting.
So I think that's an allusion to Old Milwaukee Ice is my silver 3.
Because I think my silver 3 is actually the old style Pilsner.
Sure.
I was not. I remember it not being amazing, but then drinking it again, I was like, eh.
So I'm really interested to talk about these top two. So
okay.
My bottom 2, Miller High Life and Old Milwaukee Ice, are beers I have not really had much.
Okay.
On the other hand, Moosehead is sort of been my go-to silver beer, like before we started doing this. Mm-hmm. It's just, hey, if you're going to buy a macro brew or whatever, you buy a case of Moosehead or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it was interesting how it would hold up in this competition now that we started doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I had old style Pilsner.
Oh, no.
Well, all it made me think of is like, there's that taste that I can't really even quantify or describe really, that makes me think like I'm a 16-year-old, drinking beer for the, like it has that kind of
for
like,
sure.
These are the types of beers I drank when I was whatever at like my friend's attic or basement, when I was, legal drinking age.
Yeah.
But like those types of, it just has this weird taste that reminds me of those times, which were good times for me. Like I enjoyed high school, so I have like this sort of positive memory associated with it, even though I understand that that's like bad beer. It's like a time when I didn't understand what good beer meant.
Sure.
I still have like this positive association. So I actually liked Old Style Pilsner as my number 2.
Okay.
But it was like that acknowledgement that like this isn't good, but it makes me remember things, feel a certain way.
No, sorry. As you were telling that story, I was prepared for a completely different outcome. I thought you were going to give that number one, because my silver 2 was Miller High Life,
Yeah.
which I just didn't think was nearly that horrible. But it didn't seem that different from the other ones we had tasted around it. But
See, that's what I'm saying. I think it might be just because I drank it right after Moosehead.
yeah, that's probably it, because we both agree Moosehead was the best.
Yeah. Now, I don't think it got the toughest competition. I think if we threw it in with some of our other silver series, it might have been tighter, right? Because
For sure.
for me, this was like a clear winner, whereas usually we haven't had that.
We usually don't. I don't think that Moosehead coming in, I was purposely putting my finger on it, being like, this is the best one. I don't even know if it was because we had it first, and then each other one just didn't match up at all. And it was, to me, in my ratings, it slowly degraded to this one was the best, and then it slowly got worse and worse with every beer. So I don't know if that's why, and if I tasted it after another beer, maybe it'd be different. But
we've had previous ones where the one we expect to be the best doesn't end up being the best.
That's true.
This was just the one where it happened.
Yeah,
where
because
the one we thought was going to be the best was the best.
Because Old Milwaukee Ice was part of it. But I do like that tidbit about the ice. That's nice. It's a nice ice.
Yeah, it's fun, right? But to be fair, ice has kind of been on a downward trend because it doesn't taste that good when you do this.
You're right. Something else.
It's a cheap way to increase alcohol, but it doesn't taste good.
It takes something more than just water. There's something in the water that, makes it taste good.
Exactly.
But anyway, Moosehead is the winner for the evening. Hooray, Moosehead. But with that, it looks like it is closing time. So, if you want to reach us and talk to us about how great icing your beer is, or if getting iced is fun, or anything about ice, you can reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
You might also find us on MTG Arena under the username Arena Regulars Podcast.
You can find me personally at Zulberg, that is ZeulBerg on Twitter and Instagram. But Jeff, where can they find you?
I do have Twitter. It is Blues Brews MTG. If you want to find me, you can figure out how it's spelled.
Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. On Spotify, they have a new rating system, so give us 5 stars there. Go to our YouTube channel, watch our draft videos, and leave us a comment. We love to talk to you and hear your feedback. This has been the Arena Regulars,
reminding you that when you're up against Tezzeret, paralysis scrolls may not be your best option.
Good night. All right, that's fine.